A group of teenagers is partying on a small atoll in the middle of the ocean. They are drinking, sunbathing, and having a great time. A guy named Mark decides to go swimming, takes off all his clothes, and boldly jumps into the water. He doesn't know that a large three-headed white shark is waiting for him. The guy gets to the nearest buoy, and for some reason the predator doesn't attack him. A girl named Polly decides to join Mark and also enters the water. A shark fin appears right next to her. The blonde disappears under the water. Her boyfriend jumps into the water after her. Panic ensues on the shore. All the youngsters spot a huge shark fin, but they don't know yet that this predator has not one head, but as many as 3. Polly's boyfriend also disappears under the water. The water around him turns red. The 3-headed shark jumps ashore and catches 3 more tourists. It throws a bloody feast on the atoll. Mark is the only one who survives. In the meantime, divers from the Persephone Research Center study the underwater world of the Pacific Ocean. Dr. Laura Thomas is notified that a new trainee, a girl named Maggie, has arrived. She is introduced to marine biologist Dr. Nelson, who tells her about the Pacific garbage patch. Maggie meets Dr. Thomas, and the 3 of them take a tour of the research center. Meanwhile, a group of activists who are also interested in the underwater world arrive on the Persephone. One of them is a guy named Greg, and he is Maggie's ex-boyfriend. The characters examine the underwater station, located inside a huge bunker on an island in the middle of the ocean. That's where the scientists collect various samples of flora and fauna from the ocean floor and study how they are affected by environmental pollution. Greg introduces Maggie to his friends Ryan, Allison, and Omar. We see that the guy still has tender feelings for her. The characters visit a laboratory where biologists study several test specimens from the local ecosystem. Underwater inhabitants develop various anomalies and mutations because of the garbage patch. Some of the animals look quite strange. For example, one of the turtles has a double skull, and a few fish behave too aggressively. This is what happens when you throw garbage in random places. Dr. Nelson asks Dr. Thomas if everything is okay. For some reason, the animals in the lab seem to be scared. Could it be increased seismic activity? Well, that's definitely not the case. A huge 3-headed shark is approaching the research center. An alarm goes off on the Persephone. Dr. Nelson and Dr. Thomas leave the young activists behind and run outside. Maggie and the youngsters rush after them, not knowing what's going on. They notice a huge predator on the island where Persephone is located, but at first, they assume it's a blue whale. Unfortunately, they are sorely mistaken. People on the island are horrified by what they've seen and want to hide inside the station. But there's a problem. The shark is incredibly huge and strong and can breach any bunker. The predator breaks into Persephone and once again holds its bloody banquet. People attempt to block all the entrances and call the Coast Guard. Unfortunately, no one responds. Apparently, the shark had the guards for breakfast. Because of the critical damage, the station gets flooded. The 3-headed shark is trying to destroy the Persephone completely. As a result of the violent impact, oxygen cylinders fall and explode. The station must be evacuated immediately. Dr. Nelson and Dr. Thomas lead all the activists to an evacuation point on the island. Minutes later, the research center explodes, killing everyone who was trapped inside. The water level of the ocean is rising rapidly. This island will be completely flooded in a matter of minutes. The characters need to get to the rescue boat, but to do this, they have to swim about 500 meters in the water. Greg intends to get to the boat first, start it up, and return for the rest of the group. He bravely jumps into the water and swims with all his might. The 3-headed shark appears nearby. Greg manages to reach the boat, but can't get it started. Ryan rushes to his aid. This guy also successfully gets to the boat and tries to fix the engine. Allison decides to join them, and Omar rushes after the girl to stop her. Unfortunately, the shark catches up with the youngster, leaving him no chance to survive. Nevertheless, his sacrifice allows Allison to reach Greg and Ryan safely. The boat's engine finally starts. The shark can attack at any moment. It must be distracted so that they can pick up the survivors from the shore. Maggie suggests using herself as bait, but Dr. Thomas decides to sacrifice herself instead. She jumps into the water and paddles with all her strength in the opposite direction of the boat. The shark immediately rushes after its new prey, giving Dr. Nelson and Maggie a chance to swim toward the rescue boat. Soon, the shark catches up with Dr. Thomas, and once again, the water turns red. Dr. Nelson and Maggie reach the boat and climb aboard. Only 5 people have survived, and now they can finally leave this horrific place. But that's when a new problem arises. The shark is swimming just as fast as the boat and has no intention of letting its prey escape. Ryan contacts fisherman Max Burns over the radio and asks for help. At first, the fisherman doesn't believe in the existence of a 3-headed shark and makes fun of the guys, but eventually he agrees to assist them. A large yacht appears in the ocean, carrying a group of wealthy young people throwing a party. The shark immediately heads in their direction. Unaware of the danger, the partygoers drink, dance, have fun, and enjoy themselves. Unfortunately, their celebration doesn't last long. The main characters try to warn the yacht's passengers about the threat, but they don't make it in time. The shark chomps down on some trash the passengers carelessly threw into the ocean, and then sets its sights on the main course. While most of the partygoers are dancing wildly, a couple at the stern notices a massive predator in the water. They assume it's just a whale and don't seem too concerned. Big mistake. The 3-headed shark rams the yacht. Panic ensues on board. The girl who was scuba diving at that moment becomes the first prey of the aggressive predator. The yacht begins to flood. The captain sends a distress signal. The shark rams the yacht again and again, making some people fall overboard. You know exactly what happens to them next. A guy named Howard tries to save his girlfriend Rosemary. The captain informs the passengers that the Coast Guard is already on the way to them. There are no lifeboats on the yacht, so they just have to wait until help arrives. More and more people end up overboard. Soon the shark jumps on the yacht to eat a few more passengers, and then goes back into the water. The rescue boat with Maggie and the others pulls up to the yacht. The main characters climb aboard, and Ryan even grabs an axe. After another blow, Howard falls into one of the lower compartments of the yacht. His girlfriend Rosemary is desperate. She and another passenger named Stanley are found by Maggie and her companions. Maggie, Stanley, and Nelson decide to rescue Howard, while Greg takes all the survivors to the upper deck. Unfortunately, the shark is still swimming around the yacht. Maggie, Stanley, and Nelson find Howard in the ruined dining room, help him get out, and head to the upper deck. Many people have been injured, and those who haven't been bitten by the shark are bandaging their wounds. The shark jumps to the stern one more time and grabs Nelson. The yacht is about to capsize. There's no time to waste. Everyone must leave it immediately. Maggie, Stanley, and Howard rejoin the rest of the passengers. Rosemary is relieved that her beloved is alive. The protagonists return to their boat and take Stanley, Rosemary, and Howard with them. However, Ryan remains on the yacht. He is determined to destroy the huge shark, and to do this he jumps on its back, armed with an axe. The guy manages to injure the predator and cling to its back. He rides the shark as if it were a huge surfboard. The shark somersaults and drops Ryan into the water. Unfortunately, this marks the end of the guy's life. The other characters sail away. They run out of fuel, so they decide to stop at the very atoll that the shark attacked earlier. The shore is close, but the shark isn't going to leave them alone either. Maggie jumps into the water near the atoll and desperately swims towards the shore. The others follow her lead. The fisherman Burns, who was called for help, finally shows up. The brave men decide to attack the vicious predator, but they've never faced such a large and dangerous creature before. So Burns loses 2 of his assistants in a matter of seconds. The fisherman shoots at the predator, but what can bullets do against such a giant? He grabs his machete and with great difficulty cuts off one of the shark's heads. The predator doesn't show any signs of life. Is this a victory? The shark falls into the water. Burns notices the youngsters he saved on the atoll and heads towards them with a machete, like a true hunter. At that moment, the shark resurrects, grows 3 new heads, and eats Burns. Wow, we're shocked too. It's not a shark, but a real hydra. People on the shore are horrified. They run further inland and meet Mark, the surviving guy we saw at the beginning of the movie. He warns them that the shark can come ashore. which means there's no escape from it anywhere. Maggie assumes that this mutated shark is attracted to pollution. She also noticed that the heads of the monster are not friendly to each other and constantly compete for their prey. The characters find 2 motorboats on the shore and intend to leave the island. Allison, Rosemary, Howard, and Mark board one of the boats, and Greg, Stanley, and Maggie take the second one. A few minutes later, the 3-headed shark attacks the first boat and sends all its passengers to the grave. Maggie believes someone might have survived, so she asks Stanley and Greg to distract the shark by throwing garbage bags into the water. They succeed in doing so. The predator swims closer, but besides the trash, it bites Stanley's arm. The man loses hope of rescue and sacrifices himself, forcing all the heads of the sharks to fight for him. Greg does the same, however. He manages to survive. In pursuit of its prey, the greedy monster bites off 3 of its own heads and dies. Maggie and Greg are the only survivors. They realize that they still love each other, and soon a helicopter arrives to their rescue.